speak. Without further ado, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Abhilash Ram, as you can see on the slide. You can call me Abhi. I work with international communications and student recruitment, which is a part of the marketing department of Chalmers. So basically, that means that I try to get smart students like you to come and study at Chalmers. But I do not work with questions regarding scholarships or admissions or documentation or fees or accommodation. None of those things I work with. I work with uh, I work with questions regarding why Chalmers, as in why would you choose Chalmers? That is about it. Okay. Next, in order to help me do that, I have a student ambassador with me today. He and I will have a discussion regarding how it feels like to be Egyptian at Chalmers. So, without further ado, let's look at our agenda for today. Our agenda for today includes 4 points. The first point is what are the next stages in this process for the Egyptian students, Egyptian applicants, right? Like you. Next point will be scholarships. What can we do about it? The third point will be a discussion with my student ambassador, and then it's a Q&A session. All right. So during the first 2 points are the next stages and the scholarships. During this time, I will turn off the chat. Okay. So I want you to pay close attention to what I say during that time. Next, when it comes to the discussion, I will open the chat again. At this point, you will be able to raise questions that we, during our discussion, will be able to answer. What I want you to understand is this. It's very important that you pay close attention to the discussion. Why? Because your question might be answered as part of a larger discussion. So we might not answer your question as Q and A, but we might answer it more in the sense of there is a discussion going on and your question will be answered as part of the discussion. All right. So pay close attention to the entire discussion. And if you still feel that your questions have not been answered, please feel free to raise your questions again. All right. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and hide the chat option. It's going to go away in 3, 2, 1, gone. So now we are going to go to the next point, which is basically what's next at Next Stop Chalmers. So the next point is the key dates. So if you have attended the previous webinar, which was a general webinar on Friday last week, the 15th of January, or you attended a rerun of it on Monday, the 18th, you would have noticed, sorry, the 13th of January and the 18th, you would have noticed this information already. The 15th of January is the deadline for application and scholarships, both. This basically means that by the 15th of January, you should have chosen your 4 programs, put them in an order of priority, and then submitted your application. It also means that by that date, you should have gone to chalmers.se/scholarships and made an application for a scholarship. If you had done that, then you would have received an email with a link where you would be able to motivate your request for a scholarship, right? If you did not do that, then there is very little chances of you getting a scholarship. Let's get to that in the next slide where it's about scholarships. For the time being, let's move on to the next deadline. The next deadline is the 1st of February. It's a Monday, and this deadline is for 2 things. One, documentation, and two, it is for for fee payment. So on this date, university admissions should have received all your documents, irrespective of whether you're sending it by regular post or whether you are sending it online. That is, you are uploading it into your profile, right? Irrespective of that, the documents should have arrived at university admissions by the 1st of February. You cannot send it on the 1st. It has to arrive on the 1st. Okay. Similarly with the payment, the 900 Swedish crowns, which is the application fee, it has to arrive at university admissions by the 1st of February. It cannot be sent on the 1st of February. It has to be arriving at university admissions by the 1st of February. Next, Between the 1st of February and the 29th of March, there is very little that will happen. You won't hear much information. You won't see many things change in places, not on your university admissions profile, not from Chalmers. You might not hear much information. There might be a lot of radio silence, so to speak. What happens during this time is your applications are being evaluated, right? They will evaluate all your applications. And then on the 29th of March, all of you will get to know whether you got admitted, whether you got rejected, or whether you got put into a reserve list. So there are three things that can happen to you. One of three things that can happen to you. One, you might get admitted. Two, you might get rejected. Or three, you might be put in a reserve list. Now, those who get, all of you will get to know this on the 29th of March, right? And then after the first round, when you get this information on your university admissions profile, you will get a question. Do you want to keep your admission or do you want to reject it? So yes, I want to keep my admission, or no, I don't. If you say yes, then what happens is that you will continue to do the next step. What is the next step? It might be paying the fees or applying for a visa or looking for accommodation, so on and so forth. That will happen only after the 29th of March. Before that, you can't do anything about those things. If you say no, then what happens is your seat that you rejected will get recycled. And then there will be a second round of notifications which happens in April. During this, on this date, which happens to be for the second round of notifications, all of those people that got put in the reserve list will get to know whether they got admitted or not. And that will happen because some of you said no, right? So those recycled seats will go to some of these people that got into reserve list, and then they will get to know whether they got admitted or not. That will happen sometime in April. If you are interested in knowing a lot about these key dates, what is the kind of schedule we follow, you can go to chalmers.se/key dates. On this web page, you will find a lot of dates that are listed with what will happen on those dates. You can also find a lot of other information there. All right. So go ahead. If you have any questions about key dates, go ahead and check the web page. Moving on, let's talk a little about scholarships. So, as I said, the 15th of January was the deadline for scholarship application. This basically means that if you did not say that you wanted a scholarship on the 15th of January, there is no way you will get a scholarship from Chalmers. That's it. The 15th of January was the deadline. Everybody that applied on or before the 15th would have received an email asking them to motivate their application. Everybody else that tried to do it after the 15th do not get an option, right? They do not get a scholarship. That said, there is another set of scholarships given by the Swedish government, and this is through a government body known as the Swedish Institute. So Swedish Institute has a scholarship known as the Swedish Institute Study Scholarships. There was a first deadline on the 20th of January, which they have changed. Now the new deadline is today, the 22nd of January. So you still have time. You still have about, let's see, you have about 6 hours, is it? 7 hours? You have about 7 hours to go ahead and make this application. Until 12 o'clock in the night, Central European time, you have time to make an application for the Swedish Institute scholarships. Now, again, I want to reiterate that this is given by the Swedish government through this body known as the Swedish Institute. So, if you have any questions regarding the scholarship, you have to address them to Swedish Institute. You cannot ask me or my colleagues or student ambassadors. They have no information regarding Swedish Institute scholarships. You must contact Swedish Institute for your questions regarding Swedish Institute scholarships. And that you can do by going to their website, www.studyinsweden.se. Okay? That is what you need to do. Next, if you okay, I'm going to turn the chat on for a second. Guys, are you able to see me? Is the video working? Good. Okay. So I will just hide the chat once again. Okay. All right. So coming back to our point about scholarships. Now let us say that you were admitted on the 29th of March. You got the question yes or no. You said yes. And then in August, you came to Chalmers and you enrolled yourself. But you did not get a scholarship. You still have the chance to apply for a scholarship as a current student. As a student who has enrolled at Chalmers, you get the opportunity to apply for a scholarship. You have three options. One, the Adlerbert 60th Anniversary Scholarship. Number two, the Adlerbert Foreign Student Hospitality Fund. And number three, the Rotary International Student House Scholarship Fund. Right? These are three big and small scholarships that you can make an application for. Some of you will get it, others might not. But it's open for all of you to make an application. You are welcome and encouraged to make an application to those scholarships. All right. Next, I have heard of national scholarships in many countries. I am pretty sure that you have these scholarships as well. So ensure that you do your Google search, ensure that you identify these scholarships, ensure that you identify other scholarships that you can apply for. Maybe there is a World Bank scholarship, maybe there's an International Monetary Fund scholarship. I do not know of these things, but you as applicants, as students that need funding, can go ahead, look for this, find them, apply for them, and if you get them, so much the better. All right. So ensure that you look for national and international scholarships that you can apply for and make an application to those. Next, I have something for you. This is a Facebook group. We have created a Facebook group for all you Egyptian applicants. It's at the address www.facebook.com/groups/nextstopchalmers Egypt. Very simple, very straightforward. Use the URL, find the group. It's a closed Facebook group, which means that you need to ask to be approved. So you click on join, and then somebody who is an admin of the group will accept you. And the moment you are approved and you are in the group, you can start a discussion amongst yourselves, talk to each other about the problems you're facing, about the good things you've done, about the good things you face, so on and so forth, so that you can help each other. To help each other is the best thing you can do, because we can't always be there helping you, right? But if one person finds out something, you can share it amongst yourselves, and then everybody knows everything, right? So use the Facebook group to have a discussion amongst yourselves. In the Facebook group, you will find me, some of my colleagues, and you will also find some of the student ambassadors. And the thing is that we will be there from time to time, so we will be able to answer your questions periodically. But I suggest that you don't expect that we will be there all the time, right? We are not going to be in the group all the time. We will try to answer your questions now and then. Meanwhile, help each other. All right. Next, I would like to introduce to you, should I call you Saad or should I call you Muhammad Ismail? Mohammed. Let's start a discussion with Mohammed. All right. We are going to be discussing a number of points starting with these. I will also start the chat pod so that you can start asking questions. All right.
Okay.
Let's sit a little back so that we manage to wait. Let's zoom in just a little. Good. You can all see us, right? Yes, first question. Rami is already ready. Before the 20th of Jan. Okay. Okay. While no motive email was sent to me, that's very unfortunate. I suggest that you contact the admissions unit to do so. Otherwise, if you had uploaded a motivation letter as part of your application on university admissions, then that is why you did not get that email. But contact the admissions unit anyway. Write to admissions@chalmers.se. All right. But let's start with you, Mohammed. You studied here. What did you study?
I studied my master degree in electric power engineering,
Excellent. So, masters in power engineering. When did you do this?
starting September 2013.
13. So, you're finished now.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And what do you do now?
I was searching for jobs and I just got a job like 2 months ago.
So, you started working.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Excellent. So, Mohammed, I mean, I remember you. We worked together before when you were a student here, and I was also a student. So it's really nice to know that you are safe and settled and all of that. Life is good. Life is good. So, what do you feel? What would you pick up as the yeah? Okay, they want you to raise your voice
Okay.
because they can't hear you.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, we can actually raise the volume of the microphone so
Yeah.
you can. You should be able to hear us very clearly by now.
I hope so.
Yeah? Excellent. Wonderful.
Mm.
So, I mean, I would like to ask you, like, what would you, if you were to tell these guys
Mhm.
your absolutely favorite thing about Chalmers, what would you say?
Uh, First of all, it's cons when we talk about engineering, engineering is about practicing. And in Egypt, it's mainly theoretical more than practical.
Okay.
So that's the most important thing I noticed at the beginning,
Okay. Okay.
that everything is
Hands on.
aimed at applying and
Okay.
not just books.
Right.
The books
Right.
are tools, but not are the goal.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. And it's I mean, I like the fact that it's always open, isn't it? You have access to your labs all the time.
Yeah,
You're
you can,
building.
actually you can even sleep in the lab if you want. I'm
You
not
can
exaggerating. I
no.
remember a project that was very long that we needed to do it.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Wonderful. Yeah, but and also how the interaction with teachers is so easy and they allow you to do whatever you want. I mean, you can basically tell them that you are wrong and they will not be offended by it.
No, actually, the first thing as an Egyptian,
Yeah.
it's funny that you mentioned that. Egyptians always like to address teachers
Yeah.
by master
Yeah.
or professor, or
Mm-hmm.
there should be a title.
Right.
So the first couple of months, I was always addressing them like this.
Yeah.
And whenever I addressed a professor like this, he was like, okay. And he's like looking at me in an awkward way. And then he doesn't want to tell me something because we are not still, well, he doesn't know me much. But
Yeah.
then after some time, he told me, you don't have to call me professor.
Yeah.
Call me by my first name. I was like, first name? And he was like, yes, we're just studying here together. So it was based on that. And this is one of the things about even the Swedish culture.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That it's very flat, isn't it? There's no hierarchy. There's no pride in title. They are more proud about themselves than about their title. So they
Yes.
don't really care about whether they're a professor or anything, or whether they're a boss. They're more proud of whether they've done well in society or whether they are a good person or whatever. It's very nice to,
This is true.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's but and you also said again, it's a nice thing that you brought up labs as
Yeah.
the example because that is
Yeah.
all of these points on the slide are actually connected to exactly that. How much industry interaction did you have?
Actually, the master is a 2 year program.
Yeah.
So during this year, I met like three job fairs,
Yeah.
and I met like all of the companies, almost all of the companies that are in Sweden,
Yeah.
and they came inside the Chalmers
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah.
And you speak with the representative, and they tell you about the dates for applying and everything. So
Right.
the interaction is really deep. It's
Right.
not like you just know the companies, but
Yeah, you don't
yeah,
know how to
yeah,
what to do or how
yeah.
to approach them
They come
really.
to you and they want you.
You're
So
right, right. But I mean, just to make a distinction, it's not like the way where companies will come and conduct interviews here.
yeah,
Instead, it's more like I want to just talk to you. I
yeah,
want to get to know you.
yeah, they want to present what their company is. They give you the website, the information about it, and then they tell you, of course, you apply there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no point in taking your CV with you,
Yeah.
is there? I know a lot of students that say, "Oh, it's a job fair. I'm taking my CV with me," and it's a very funny thing to watch when some of them do that, and then the company says, "No, no, no, I don't want your CV." Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. It's yeah. Did you need to use the 6 month thing, the 6 month work searching visa thingy?
No, I didn't. And
No.
I think the reason for this is that I extended my visa
Uh-huh.
for education because I was doing my thesis in Germany. in parallel.
Right,
So
right. Also, you can do your thesis in other countries and other universities and other companies abroad and all of that.
it's good that you brought up that because this is one of the things I loved about Chalmers.
Yeah,
It's very, very flexible in a way that they even support you to do the thesis wherever you want,
right.
as long as it's related to what you study,
Mm.
as long as the field is relevant.
Right.
So you're totally supported in that.
Wonderful. Yeah. So where did you do it in Germany?
Robert Bosch.
Robert Bosch.
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. And what was it about?
Yeah.
If you can make
If
it,
I say the title, usually when I speak to someone who doesn't study electric power engineering, he's like, okay.
I think I will do the same thing, but still.
It was about the sensorless control of permanent magnet synchronous machines.
Okay.
Simply, there's a motor,
Yeah.
and in the basic theory of controlling a motor, you need a feedback.
Right.
But in this thesis, this feedback is removed,
Okay.
and we try to control it without the feedback and to see the interaction of the machine design on this.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Um, right. I mean, I really don't want to go by the slide. I mean, do we have any questions that we can bake into our discussion here? What about working during studies? Yeah, did you work during your studies?
Uh, During my studies, a thesis is considered a job here in Sweden.
Yeah.
You can get money for it, and even in Germany, I was getting like a salary. Of course, it's not
A lot of
maximum or big salary as a regular worker or a permanent worker, but it can be very good for a student to get this money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think this guy was asking from a perspective of part-time jobs.
Yeah, of course.
Did you have a
It's
part-time job?
for part-time. In my case, I didn't, but I know
Right.
a lot of my friends were able even to secure positions in something like school library or
Oh,
representative, yeah, for a student ambassador or something like this.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's Swedish as a language actually plays a good role in finding a job, whether it's part-time or full-time.
Yeah, in Sweden, you can survive totally with English. English is spoken perfectly, fluently. But when you find a lot of competitive market like this, they have to have something to differentiate people by. So that's why they ask about the Swedish thing.
Oh, is that
But
okay?
I saw
That's a
people
good
who are able to get jobs without that.
without Swedish.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a good that's an angle that I never thought about. That
Yeah.
it's competitive, and so they use the language because what I understood, my rationale
Yeah.
says that it's because of the social angle. That it's in an office where where somebody doesn't speak Swedish. It's kind of okay. So in Egypt,
Mm.
if you work for, let's say, Volvo,
Yeah.
Volvo has a business language of English. So in the office, you might be working in English, but once you go on a coffee break,
Yeah.
you would speak Arabic, right?
Of course.
Right.
And even, by the way, in the office time,
Yeah,
people
even in the
speak
office
Arabic.
time, yeah, exactly. And it would be the same thing for Swedes that once they go to the office and they take a break, they would speak Swedish. So if you don't speak Swedish, then you won't really make friends, which can result in you feeling alone, which will result in you being depressed, which can result in lack of productivity, which will bring the company down, and the company does not want that. So backtracking, it wants somebody that can speak Swedish so
Yeah.
that none of these things happen.
Yeah.
That was my rationale.
And actually, when you start breaking this barrier of trying to learn the language, because the problem is not the language itself.
No.
The problem is the language is easier
Yeah.
than German, for example,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But the problem is that people don't want to take the step. They are afraid to try something
To
new.
try.
Yeah.
And I think there's one other problem. I think Swedes speak English so well
Yeah.
that you rarely get the opportunity
This
to
is true.
practice
Yeah.
Swedish.
Yeah. This is they speak English amazingly. I've been in Germany,
Yeah.
and compared to Germany, especially south of Germany, no, Gothenburg is totally different. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for bringing up Gothenburg. What do you think about Gothenburg? As opposed to where you're from or as opposed to any other city you've been
Yeah.
to, what is your opinion of Gothenburg?
I was raised in Cairo,
Okay.
so all Egyptians know what Cairo is. It's a
Okay.
huge city.
Okay.
So being raised in Cairo, I always had this perspective of that Cairo is the reference for me.
Right.
But when I went outside, I discovered that Cairo is one of the biggest cities
Right.
in terms of size.
Right.
So the first time I came to Gothenburg, I was like,
This
this
is
is a city. And then I realized that everything you need is there.
Right.
and it's done in a way that you don't feel that the city is big, although it's big.
Yeah.
But it's not as big as Cairo.
No.
And especially when I came in winter, it was a little bit tricky because people here closed the shops early.
Mm,
Cairo never sleeps.
no.
So it was a little bit tricky at the beginning to see the difference in cultures in that
Right,
part. Yeah.
right, right. Yeah, that's a good that's the thing about we can take that.
Mhm.
That's a good thing about what you bring up, like that Gothenburg has everything, and yet it is kind of small and still is big.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a beautiful city actually.
mm,
The good thing about it is that you can find everything you need in a big city,
mhm,
and yet you're very connected to nature,
right,
which
but
is something I was missing a lot in
right,
Cairo.
right.
Yeah.
But what do you do in your spare time? Because you
Uh,
say you find everything you need in Gothenburg.
yeah.
By the way, do you want to move in
Yeah,
this
of
way so
course.
you're
Yeah.
in the camera?
Yeah.
Right. So what do you do in your spare time?
In my spare time, usually it's mainly cycling.
Yeah,
And that's something that I wasn't able to do much in
in
Cairo.
Cairo,
You can do it in Cairo, but
you have to be
you
careful.
have to be very careful and you have to stop a lot. Yeah, but here there are tracks for it, which
Right,
is
right.
something very positive, of course.
Yeah.
I go to the gym.
Hmm.
I run a lot, but of
Right.
course not in winter.
No.
In such weather, in winter, you cannot run that much. So
Right, right.
yeah, so it's mainly like this. Swim a lot because there are a lot of places to swim.
Mm, mm,
This is true.
yeah.
Yeah.
What uh, you said cycling, you said running, you said swimming. You seem like a very physical kind of guy.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with the winter?
Yeah.
Since you are from Egypt, I mean, it is more or less a
Yeah.
desert country in a way,
Yeah.
right?
That was a big issue at the beginning that the sun here is not as we have it in Egypt.
Right.
And at the beginning, it was a little bit tricky to get accustomed to that.
Right,
Because here as you know, in the summer, it's a very long day,
right.
and in the winter, the day starts to get shorter.
Right. Do you want to explain that to them? Like
Yeah.
what it means? What it means when you say the days get long and the days get short in winter?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that a bit?
Actually, explaining and even reading about it is something, and living it is
Is a
something
whole
else.
other thing, isn't it?
Especially when you have to experience something like Ramadan, for example, in
Right.
Sweden, where you have to fast in the
21
summer.
hours?
Yeah, or so. So you can imagine how tricky it is.
I had a few Indonesian students who also had to fast during Ramadan, and they were telling me I lost weight after coming to Sweden. And they were like, "What happened?" Because I had to fast 21 hours for Ramadan. I'm like, "Good for you."
Yeah. So
Keeping fit.
yeah, I remember times, especially during winter, when I go to school
Mm.
and there's no light because
Mm.
it's very early. I go like at 7,
Mm.
8, and then I come out around 3 or something,
And it's
and the sun is already.
setting. It's
Yeah.
dark.
So at the beginning, I was like, as an Egyptian, I'm used to when I see the sun is going down, then the day is ending.
Right.
But you still have to study,
It
and you
is
still to do some stuff. You still to prepare
for the
dinner,
next day.
and yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's still a long day to continue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Still at least another 6 hours to go.
Yeah.
Right.
But then when the summer comes, you find that
You're almost asleep.
yeah, I remember buying curtains which are very big
Yeah.
at the beginning because I'm used when I see the light, I wake up.
Right. Right.
But
right.
the light where it can reach like 11.
Right.
Yeah, but this is like the maximum,
Mm.
11 p.m. something.
Right. Right. Did you ever think of doing a PhD?
Well,
Are you the academic kind of guy?
actually, I'm an engineer,
Yeah.
so I believe that PhD, of course, it's totally respected and everything in my point of view, but I'm not that kind of guy. I'm more oriented towards
Hands-on.
industry.
You're,
Yeah.
you're industry guy. No, because there was a question here asking about PhD and do you need to do a licentiate? Now, the thing is that after the master's, it is possible for you to start a PhD. Everything, I think you
Yeah.
mentioned this earlier, everything comes down to networking, right? Everything comes down to communication. When you are here, you have a lot of opportunities,
This is true.
and those opportunities you need to take advantage of. If you don't take advantage of them, they will slip by. What I mean by that is, for example, in the case of Mohammed here, you mentioned that a lot of companies come here. That is an opportunity for you to network with them, to get to know them, for them to get to know you. Similarly, when you are studying, you are in the presence of a large number of research groups at your department
This is
and
true.
at other departments.
And one of the good things also about, because you mentioned the PhD, is that there is also the opportunity to do the PhD in a company.
Yeah, exactly. An industrial
So in
PhD.
this way, you can be very strongly connected to the industry
Industry.
and at the same time get the degree from Chalmers at the end.
Exactly. And the thing, yeah, but the thing that I was trying to get to was that when you are here and studying, you have the opportunity to network with these professors, these research groups, these PhD and postdoc students that are working already, right?
Yeah.
And PhD at Chalmers and in Sweden is considered a job, not it's not where you need to pay or you get a stipend. You actually get a salary, a full engineer's salary
This
you
is
get
true.
as a PhD,
Yeah.
right? So what happens is basically, since it's a job, you have to apply for it. So in your case, as a master student, you are here, you're studying, and what happens during your studies, you're able to then interact with these professors, with their research groups. You're able to show them that you are interested. You have a master's thesis which you can do in the area you're interested, in the area you want to do a PhD.
Of course.
And then with that, during that time, you are able to show your professor that you are good at what you do. You do not have to be a grade A
Yeah.
number
Yeah.
one student. No,
Yeah.
it's not necessary. You have to show passion.
This
If you
is
show
true.
passion,
Yeah.
your professor will feel that you are, interesting, that you are going to do your job, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get a salary. Remember, you're going to have a job. If you get a PhD, you're going to have a salary. So what happens then is basically that either you will have to apply for a PhD position like a normal
Yeah.
job, apply for it, get it, and then start the job.
Of course.
Or you will have to, in the other case, which where you might be fortunate, your professor might offer you a PhD position, right? In any case, the professor has to have money to be able to pay you a
But
salary.
this comes from interaction, of course.
Exactly. It
So
all comes
yeah.
down to that networking and that interaction part, nothing else, right? And then you also have to know that master students don't ever, very rarely, actually, I cannot put it down to 100%. 90% of the time, you will not do, master students don't do research work as in RA or TA work.
Yeah.
RA and TA work is very commonly done by students only in the US, not in Sweden. In Sweden, the PhD candidates are the ones that do the RA and the TA
This
work.
is true. Yeah.
They sit down and they correct papers. They sit down and help you in the lab.
Yeah.
They help you with tutorials and things like that. That is done by PhD candidates and not by master students. So master students very rarely do RA
Yeah,
work.
as you said, very rarely because I wanted to make sure about that the opportunity is there.
Exists.
But
Yes. Yes.
but usually as a master student you have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
That this thing, yeah, you can also have it among the other options.
Right, exactly. I mean, it depends on your professor, whether he is interested in having a master student do research work, whether you are actually that good that he
Yes.
wants to
Yeah.
put you into
Yeah.
that position, so on and so forth. Like, so there are a lot of factors that involve it. So it's not impossible, but it's very, very rare. My major is nanotechnology. Well, I'm a unique. Well, I'm not unique, but I'm weird. In my situation, I did my bachelor's in electronics, and then I worked as a software engineer for 3 years, and then I came to Chalmers and did my master's in nanotechnology, and today I work for Chalmers with marketing and communications. So if you're going to use me as an example for anything, you have to use me as an example for jack of all trades and master of none. All right. So coming back to our discussion
Yeah.
about PhDs and things like that. So it's all about finding the opportunity and taking advantage of it to the best of your abilities. All right. There was another question here. You spoke about Gothenburg. How different is it with respect to Cairo? But you mentioned Germany more than once. As a GUC graduate, I have chances of joining universities in Germany. Could you please tell us more about the difference in your experience in Germany versus Sweden, technically as well as socially, please?
Uh, that's a very interesting question. But I will answer the question in my personal perspective, and it can differ from one person to the other, of course. In my case, I preferred from the beginning. I will start by saying I prefer Sweden, socially especially. In German terms, I was really proud to be in Germany because I learned a lot from the industry there, especially in the automotive field. I was working with my master thesis in that field. So to be in the place where it all started, it was really something I'm proud of. In Sweden, it's more, you can find the industry, you can find everything connected to that, but at the same time, you have more social life. That's how I saw it. Maybe because I was doing my master thesis in Germany, so it's not fair to judge it because I was, of course, busy all the time trying to finish my thesis. That may be the reason for it, but I loved Gothenburg more compared to the south of Germany. It's not fair also because I cannot compare whole Germany with whole of Sweden. I haven't been in all of these places together, so that's my point of view.
Right. I mean, it's a good point to also start another discussion about when you were a student here between 2013 and 2015.
Yeah,
There was I mean, you started in 2013, you came from Egypt. There
yeah,
was a structure that you were used to in Egypt,
yeah, of
and the
course.
structure here is extremely different.
Yeah.
How is can you explain the structure, and can you tell me how you feel about that?
What I love here about Sweden mainly is that it's simple and yet genius.
It's
I mean,
simple and genius.
yeah,
That's a
I
really
mean,
cool way of putting it.
you can see it simple at the
Yeah.
beginning, but then you realize that this simplicity comes from a lot of hard work of making it clear to the people.
Right.
It's simple because it's clear.
Right. Right.
In Egypt, you have huge number of people because I was studying in one of the schools in government sector.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of students there.
Mm.
So it's not easy to get the information. It's not easy to see the dates. You have to fight to know all of the dates
Mm.
and all the timetables and these kind of things.
Yeah.
Here, everything is available.
Yeah.
Through the mail,
Yeah.
through the website.
Right.
I remember that I mean, the news were chasing me more than me trying to get them. And this is, as an Egyptian, this was funny to
Yeah,
me.
I have too much. I have too much news.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's easy to find them even if you think that you will miss something.
Mm.
That's what I mean.
Mm.
The availability is around. In
Right.
Egypt, you have to fight to get the information compared to that.
Right.
Because of the, first of all, because it was a government sector school.
Right.
So that's the reason.
Mm.
Second thing is that you have a lot of number of people.
Right. Right.
So of course availability is not. I mean, to get all the information available to these kind of people is hard.
Right. Right.
Yet
Right.
I must say that my school that I studied in
Yeah.
Egypt,
Yeah.
it's one of the most respected schools.
Right.
I
Of course.
studied at Ain Shams University.
Yeah.
It's the top engineering school.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from it, and
Right.
after I came back to Sweden, came to Sweden to study, I found that it was very. My background was able to give me the
Right.
push
So
to
as an
study here.
Egyptian student, it's not too difficult to study at
No, no,
Chalmers.
no, no.
No.
Of course.
But I mean, the structure I was actually going after was the educational structure.
Yeah.
As in, I mean, I'm assuming that Egypt is kind of similar to India, and I'm from India, right? And I'm kind of assuming that it's kind of similar to India, where we have 8 to 5 classes every day, 5 days of
Yeah.
the week,
Yeah.
and then 6 to 7 courses every day, maybe 2 labs a week,
This
and
is
things
true.
like that. Is that the same in Egypt?
Yeah.
And then in Sweden, it's the exact opposite, isn't it? There is no 8 courses. There are only 2 courses,
Yeah.
and you're doing it only for a quarter. There is nothing called a semester.
Yeah, this is true, but it's not also fair to compare because in Egypt I was doing my bachelor,
Mm-hmm.
and you have heavier courses when you're doing your bachelor
Okay.
compared to the master.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, it's mainly organized in a way that it's not as heavy as
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
in Egypt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, the reason I point that out is because very often I find students kind of losing their mind for a second. Wait, I'm doing only 2 courses, and I'm doing it only for 6 to 8 weeks. So I have to study one subject in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Isn't that intense? But then I only have 2 courses. So then maybe it's not going to be too difficult. Like there's this dilemma in your head as
This is
to
true.
how should I handle this information.
This is true.
Maybe it's very intense, but then again, I've got a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah.
So maybe it will be easier. And I'm sure you've grappled with that at least once.
It's good that you mentioned that because this is here in Sweden. It's divided, especially in Chalmers. It's divided in quarters.
So you've got 4 quarters in a year,
Yeah.
and not 2 semesters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you said, you have 2 courses, but this 2 courses is not for a semester.
It's for the quarter.
It's for a quarter,
Right.
and the quarter is almost. I don't want to say numbers. You know, you
Yeah,
more
6 to
more
8
than me, of
weeks,
course.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the one who can teach me about that more actually. But it's around that. So
Yeah.
imagine studying a whole course in this amount of weeks.
Yeah.
At the beginning, you feel it's a little challenging.
Yeah.
But then you realize that it's designed and it's selected in a way that it fits in that place,
Right.
and it gives you the information needed when you
Mhm.
when you want to build on that information later in industry.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I heard this student saying there is it's based on the 40-hour week.
Mm.
So you work 40 hours a
Yeah.
week, and it's that concept anyway. So you work only from 9 to 5, and that's very Swedish as well. There's a work-life balance involved. We'll
Yeah.
get to that in a second, but there's that 40-hour week concept, and they build the course in a way that you have to spend those 40 hours
Yeah,
if
of
you
course.
want to get a good grade.
Yeah.
That you will have enough time to do your assignments, your lab work, your lectures, do your own research, all of this, and then you will still have time to do the running, the swimming, the biking.
Yeah, because it's funny that you mentioned that because everything is close to the school. The school even
Right.
has these kind of
Right,
activities. Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, okay, so we can also get to that discussion about health benefits or
Yeah.
about gyms and stuff
Yeah,
like that. But there's a question here about asking me. Wow, you should be asking Mohammed questions, not me. Aha, okay. Wait, I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
are asking questions to Mohammed. This was a misunderstanding from me. Forgive me. All right. I've been asked to say something about motivation letters and scholarships. People are confused. They haven't uploaded it yet, so they applied for a scholarship deadline 18 Jan. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to say here, but let me start by saying that a motivation letter is basically a letter from your heart, right? You want to be honest, number one, which is very commonly the way it is. But if you're going to get it written by somebody else, or you're going to try to say something in the letter that sounds very out of the world, don't do that. Be honest. Think about things in the near future. What are you going to do in the next 5 years is more important than whether you become the president of Egypt, right? So you want to think about what happens now, from now to the next 5 years. What do you feel like achieving? How do you motivate your chances of being good at what you do if you get into the master's program at Chalmers? That is what a motivation letter is about. That is what will tell people, okay, if I give this person my money, he will do or she will do a good job with it, right? That is what a motivation letter is all about. It's not about you necessarily saying that I'm good at this or I'm good at that. It's more about them believing you are good at something, right? So you have to keep it real, keep it from your heart, and keep it short and sweet, as in about the near future and not what you plan to build in 15 or 20 years, right? That's about the motivation letter. That said, about scholarships and the application as such, as I told you, the 1st of February is the deadline for all documentation. So everything that is mandatory and semi-mandatory or optional needs to go on your profile or to be sent and arrive at university admissions by the 1st of February. Now, your scholarship application, if you made an application to Chalmers for your scholarships, this would have been done before the 15th of January, right? After the 15th of January, you would have received an email to upload a letter of motivation. Now, this is usually when you have not uploaded one already to university admissions. So if you have already done that and you did not get the email, don't be worried about it, because it will automatically be taken from university admissions. What you need to understand about Sweden is that Sweden is very modular. Okay, everything works in modules, which basically means that they talk to each other, they don't influence each other. So what I mean by that is university admissions is a website that is run by a government body called UHR, or university, or the Council of Higher Education in Sweden. Okay, it's a government body. Then you've got the universities. The universities use a piece of software which allows them to read things that university admissions has stored online. Okay, so then what happens? Chalmers goes online, uses a piece of software to look at all of the documents you've uploaded. So if you've made an application and you uploaded your letter of motivation already, even before you made your scholarship application, and then you made your scholarship application, it does not matter. We will be able to see it. Not me, but the admissions unit. They will be able to see it. So university admissions does not contact us in any way. We do not contact university admissions in any way. They have these systems which talk to each other. We just use the software to help to look at everything. Similarly, this is the same case how it works with accommodation, with fees, with visa. All of these things are modules. They talk to each other, they do not influence each other. Simple as that. I think I've kind of answered the entire topic here. Have I think I have. If you still have questions, but Chalmers answered my. Okay. So if you still have any questions, raise them again. They haven't uploaded it yet, though they applied for a scholarship. Yeah, but the 18th of January is the deadline for scholarship. The email to get to you.
What kind of
Was it
scholarship?
the scholarship document? In this case, okay, assuming now again, as I told you from the very beginning, I do not work with admissions or scholarships. So I am not 100% sure of the process here. What I will say is, if you made an application for a scholarship before the 15th and did not upload all documents before the 18th and you are worried about it, contact admissions at chalmers.se. They have the answers to these questions for you. Okay, that is the best thing I can tell you right now, because I do not have a factual answer to give you and I do not want to lead you astray. Coming back to our discussion about Gothenburg and fitness and all that. So you were talking about the things that you can do on campus, right?
Yeah.
That everything is close by and everything. Would you like to elaborate on that? I mean, this is kind of bridging back to what you said earlier about everything being close by and everything being available
Yeah.
easily.
Chalmers has two campuses, as you know,
Mm.
and they are spread in a smart way all over the city. That whenever you're studying or you're focusing, you have in each campus
Right,
things
right,
that are of
exactly,
interest to you.
exactly.
So
This is just so you understand. There are actually two campuses Chalmers has. One is a campus that is by the water, and the other one is in the middle of land, so to speak, right? Not near the water. And the difference between these two campuses is that the one near the water actually hosts 4 master's programs, and 36 master's programs are held at the other place. So we've got 36 in campus Yuan Iberi, and four of the 40 are in campus Lindholmen.
yeah, this is exactly. So every campus close to it, you can find every point of interest you may need.
Yeah.
There are restaurants spread.
Right.
You can have lunch inside the school or
Right.
even outside.
Right.
You can go to the gyms. Gyms are
Right.
even close to that.
Right.
Chalmers is really close to the center. It's exactly the center. So you are in the heart of the city.
Right.
Because I saw in Germany distances, especially in the south, distances were really far.
Mhm.
So compared to that, you feel here that you can, of course,
Yeah, you can.
not in winter, you cannot walk.
No, but
much.
you can still, but it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah. You move on, and
Yeah.
then we'll get to that question about how you deal
Yeah,
with the
because
winter.
this is important as an Egyptian at the beginning because Cairo is big, as I
Mm.
told you. So at the beginning, I said the city is small. I can walk all over the city, and then I discovered the buses are here not only for the distances because of the weather.
Right.
So yeah, especially in winter, of course.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Concerning activities, there are a lot of international students here.
Right.
So you can make friends with. I mean, I've seen most of the nationalities
In
that
the world.
I haven't seen before here.
Right. Yeah, but Chalmers has 70 nationalities,
Yeah.
more than 70 nationalities.
Yeah.
So you're basically making friends from at least 1/3 the world's nationalities.
Yeah. And of course, in terms of the Swedish culture, it was very interesting. There's a
Mm.
question.
Yeah. We can get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Swedish culture was very interesting for me at the beginning
Mm.
because, of course, you hear about Sweden, you hear about Volvo, you
Mhm.
hear about IKEA,
Yeah.
but to be inside it, it's something else.
Right.
So, I mean, during this master, every time there were even events done by Chalmers
yeah, by
here
Volvo on
to
campus.
promote the Swedish culture.
Right.
So yeah, and also there are a lot of Swedish students who are. One of the things about the Swedish people that's important to mention is that they are open to different cultures.
Right.
This is an important thing.
Exactly.
They are able to communicate with you. They are able to help you.
Mhm.
They are not afraid of different cultures.
No.
They don't. Yeah, this is one of the things that helped me a lot at the beginning.
Right. But since the winter is right now happening right
Yeah.
now, and 3-4 days ago there was snow like no one has ever seen
Yeah.
before. Like wow, like
Yeah.
4 days ago we had so much snow that it was like half a meter.
We were lucky.
We were super lucky, and it
Yeah.
was so beautiful. Like a
Yeah.
girl actually described it as being Narnia, and I was like, yeah, you're actually perfectly right. It looks like the Chronicles of Narnia, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
the trees are white.
Yeah, the trees are white and the sun is bright, so everything shines.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, what do you do in such a time? Do you wear a winter jacket and walk around,
Yeah.
or do you still walk around in a t-shirt?
At the beginning, I thought that I will be able to do that, but after you live a long time, and especially in such kind of like not usual
Yeah.
winter, of course you have to wear gloves, you have to wear
Right.
hat. This is a
Exactly.
must.
So you wear good clothes and you're okay.
Yeah, and you have to have some lip balm or something
Lip balm,
because
yeah,
of the
because
weather.
otherwise it's dry and
Yeah.
everything starts
Yeah.
breaking. Right. There was a question regarding the 6 month work visa or work after graduation visa. So this is how it works. Can I see the question once again? Rami, okay. The thing is, once you graduate, you are able to apply for a 6 month work permit. Now, this Mohammed did not need because you found the job already and you had extended it because of your
Thesis.
visa, because of your thesis.
Yeah.
But your student visa can easily be changed into a work permit, isn't it? You're staying here, you can just apply for a work permit and it's okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then, let's say you did not, you weren't as fortunate as this guy here, and you couldn't find a job in the first whatever month of your not of your finishing studies. Then you have the opportunity to apply for a visa for 6 months, where you can either try to find a job, or you can try to find a PhD, or you can start your own company. I mean, that is also an opportunity. Gothenburg is very strong when it comes to that. So you are able to do that, and that is what the 6 month visa is all about, right? Um, there is Mohammed Mansi asking about how much time it takes to learn Swedish. Have you learned Swedish already?
I don't want to say I learned Swedish,
Yeah.
but I can speak as a kid, maybe.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but Swedish language is it's a very interesting language for me.
Yeah,
The sounds are beautiful. It's harmonic.
yeah. Is music to it? Yes,
Yeah.
I know, I know.
Compared to German, of course, I don't know. For me, it sounded better.
Yeah.
It's not as hard as German.
Mm.
That's my opinion.
Mm.
And he's asking about the time it needs to learn, but
Yeah.
in my opinion, you can never give something like this because someone
Exactly.
can learn it in 6 months. Someone can learn it in 6 years. The
Right.
question is about how much are you in the
In
language.
it, yeah, exactly. I mean, did you get to use the 6 months of free Swedish that Chalmers gave you? Did you use that?
Free Swedish language?
Yeah. Did you get that?
You're talking about Folks
Folks
University.
University, yes.
Yeah, but it's now 6 months.
Yeah, 60 hours.
Yeah, 60 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, I used that. Yeah.
Yeah, you use that. Okay.
At the beginning, they give you this course, and it was totally free.
Yeah, yeah.
It was by one of the private, and that's one of the things I loved about it. It was organized by a private school
Company,
here,
yeah.
but it was through Chalmers.
Yeah.
And they give you basic Swedish language so that even if you don't use English, but you will, I mean, here everyone speaks English. Even if you want to learn the basic Swedish, you can survive with these words also.
Right.
Yeah.
And then did you go to SFI? Did you go to Swedish for Immigrants?
I studied sometime.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you know my story. I went to Germany, so
Yeah, yeah,
I
so-
was caught between two worlds.
Right, right.
So yeah. So yeah.
Right, right. So, I mean, if I was to answer that question from my perspective, I would say that I've lived here for 6 years now. I came here in 2009 to do my master's, and it took me about 1.5 years to get to conversational level. As in, I was able to have basic conversations already by about the end of the first year. But I started studying the language very, 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 very rigorously already in October 2009. I arrived in September. In October already, I started learning rigorously. I spent at least a couple of hours every day. And that is a lot of time that you're spending with the language. And I think I would like to exactly point out what you said, that you cannot really put a time to it. Because if somebody asks me, can I speak Swedish? Am I good? I would say, I am good at what I say, but I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm not really sure of whether I am fluent, right? People will tell me I'm good at the language, but I will always learn. I will always learn something new about the language. And that is true even for my mother tongue. I will still learn something new about my mother tongue when I speak to someone that knows the language better than I do, right?
Yeah, of course.
So,
but as long as you are in the right track and
Yeah.
you can speak with people, you will be building the language even when you are in
On a
your
coffee
daily
break.
basis. Yeah,
On a coffee
that,
break, you can
that's what I
improve.
usually do.
Yeah?
Usually during fika or something,
Yeah?
I start to chat a little bit.
Perfect.
And it's good to mention something about the Swedish fika because this is one of the things, I don't know, I consider it one of the things that made the Swedish industry strong
Yeah,
after
I
working,
I would
especially.
definitely say
Yeah.
so. I would definitely agree with that.
A lot of people are amazed that Swedes take breaks in the
So
middle of
often.
work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they even call it a fancy name,
Yeah.
fika.
Fika.
And during this time, you have your dessert with it,
Mm.
and in my opinion, it makes your team even strong in terms of whether school or industry.
Right.
You're
Right.
chatting with the people, getting to know them more.
Yeah.
You're talking about your
Problems.
problems. People are helping you.
Yeah.
So it was one of the things that I was doing a lot when I
Excellent.
when I started to know what is it.
How much did it cost you to live here? I mean, when you were here, how much did you spend? Again, it's a very personal question. I mean,
Yeah,
it will change from person to person, but how much did you spend?
as an Egyptian,
Yeah.
it was I mean around you can spend like 6,000, 7,000 crowns per month.
Yeah.
But that depends on what kind of flat you're living in.
Yeah.
I was living in an 18-meter square student apartment.
Yeah.
So I think this may be tough for some people. So depending on that,
Okay.
yeah. So, but I was having a scholarship, so maybe that's another
Easier.
point
Yeah,
of
that's
view.
another
Yeah.
point of view. I mean, it depends on whether you're cooking at home, whether you're eating out a lot, whether you are going to party a lot.
Yeah.
It depends a lot on a lot of those things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
or whether you live, whether you're taking a bike to school or whether
Yeah,
you're taking the
but if
bus.
you are talking about living for studying, of course, you can live by 5,000 crowns or something just for studying and even the rent and everything.
Yeah.
But of course, the more you want to experience parties and stuff that you said,
Then it
of
will,
course
yeah.
you will have to pay more.
Exactly. Can we just get to that slide about religion? I just wanted to ensure that they know that we have for those of you that are religious. I would like to bring out this point, and I don't know whether you are religious or whether you go to Friday prayers and things like that.
Yeah.
But did you attend? Are you religious?
Yeah, I'm religious.
Okay, and
Yeah.
so you did attend the Friday prayers and things like that
Uh,
at Chalmers, perhaps.
yeah, Chalmers has this student dedicated room for people who want to pray.
Pray, exactly.
Uh,
Irrespective of religion, actually.
Yeah,
Anybody can go there and pray, whether you're Buddhist or whether you're Muslim, it doesn't matter.
yeah, and the good thing about it is that you can pray even the Friday prayer because
Right.
Egyptians are mostly Egyptians are religious. This is one of the things about the Egyptian culture, and Egyptians are strongly connected with that.
Right.
So, as an Egyptian, it was important to find that in school.
Right.
Because, of course, it's not easy to leave school every
Right.
Friday
Of
just to
course.
go to pray and then come back.
Yes, yes.
So, to find that on campus, that was easier for me.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So there are Friday prayers and there's halal food everywhere. There's not a problem.
Yeah.
And everybody respects everybody's religion. That is one thing that's very common about, not unique, but very common in Sweden. Swedish people don't really step on your toe when it comes to religion.
This is true.
I like the fact that, I mean, I'm Hindu by birth.
Mm.
I'm not necessarily religious, but I believe. Okay, so my thing was basically that when I meet people, they're curious. They're genuinely curious about
Yeah.
your religion. They want to know, like, is the cow really holy? Is it really holy? Do you not eat beef? Oh, so what is with the Mecca? What is it about this direction? And it's like I've always had these really interesting conversations, open-minded and curious conversations. I like that a lot. So they're very open-minded.
And at the same time, they're even very caring about your feelings, that they don't want to bring these questions as long as you understand that they are just out of curiosity.
Exactly.
And they always know how to know the borders and how to stop when they feel that they give you the feedback or the feeling that you have been criticized or something like this.
Right, exactly. Can we speak? I want to ask Mohammed, the speaker, could you tell us more about salaries and taxes?
Yeah.
Now that you're starting to pay, tell them.
Yeah, but that question.
I don't know whether he
is a
wants
very
to.
general one. I mean, taxes compared to what?
Well, taxes compared to your salary, I'm assuming. So,
Yeah.
so in terms of how much do you pay in taxes? What percentage of your salary goes in
Okay,
taxes?
that's yeah.
Okay, how much is it actually? I'm curious now.
Yeah.
How is it in Egypt? How much do you pay in taxes in Egypt?
In
if
Egypt,
you-
it's I think I stopped working long time ago, so not long time, like 3 years ago or something.
Mhm.
but the last time it was Egypt has high taxes, by the way,
Okay.
but it's not as high as Sweden.
Okay.
That's one of
Okay.
the things.
You
In
have a
Egypt,
slab system, I'm assuming. So you have a tier system, maybe.
no,
The
in
more
Egypt
money,
it's constant.
it's flat.
Yeah,
Okay.
it used to be, but I think there have been changes lately.
Okay. Okay.
So the way before it was constant.
Okay.
But in Sweden, it has variable system.
Right.
There's even a lookup table for it.
Right.
You go see your salary compared to every range. You go to see the taxes
taxes.
that you're going to pay.
Right.
So,
And it starts at about 30%, 33%.
yeah, or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
So you're paying around third. Yeah, as
Yeah.
you said. Yeah.
31% in Gothenburg, if I'm not wrong, actually. So yeah, so it's 31, 30, yeah, 30, 33%.
Yeah.
And then it just goes up. The more money you make, the
Yeah.
more taxes you pay.
This is
And
true.
the best part about this, I think, I mean, personally speaking, I think you can definitely deny it or bolster my point that it's the taxes I pay, I get back a lot. I get back. The social system works. I get subsidized healthcare. I get dentist. My dentist is paid for literally.
Yeah, this is true that you mentioned this because I was at the dentist yesterday actually.
Yeah.
So it's good that you. Yeah, this is true. I
Like-
mean, you pay the taxes and you get the services.
The
for it.
services for
Yeah,
it. And if you become a Swedish citizen, then you get subsidized. I mean, you also get free education.
This is.
Your children get free education. You get free education.
And it's not only free education; it's free and one of the best. in the
Best
world.
educations in the
So,
world. Yeah, true, true, true. The salaries compared to Europe.
I don't know actually because I cannot compare to whole of Europe, but you can say that compared to Germany or the company where I was working, I think Sweden is a little bit more. But it's a personal point of view. It
Right,
depends on
and
the
it also
companies.
depends on the
Yeah.
company. I think it also depends. I mean, you also have to look at it from another
So
perspective.
I don't want
I'd
to
say.
generalize it. Of
Right,
course.
exactly. What I would say is it's not easy to compare it also because of the fact that Germany has got its own taxing
Yeah.
system, and then they might have different systems inside of Germany. Companies in Germany might pay differently. Companies in Europe might pay
And
differently.
Germany even
Cost
is
of
based
living
on
changes.
states. You know
Yeah,
that, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah.
Every state has its
Has
own
its own laws. Yeah,
So-
exactly. And then you've also got the fact that in Europe, there are so many different companies that pay differently depending on the country,
Yeah.
depending on the location. The cost of living changes between these countries. So it's not easy to say how much you get in a salary, as in how much do you take out of your salary. It's kind of difficult to answer that question, I think. What is Chalmers looking for in future students? What is its acceptance criteria? Do you feel qualified to answer that question?
I'm not Chalmers, but I can talk about my point of view and what I saw in the selection process for me. I think it's not about, of course, the academic degree and how much you scored in it. It's something important, but Swedish culture generally they don't look at these things only, which is something positive in my opinion. They look also at communication skills, what you achieved in your life, experiences, and I was amazed when I was told about even like because in Egypt the companies never ask about something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Companies are mainly interested in your grades and seeing if you're the top of the class or something. But here it's mainly about how effective your studies, personal wise, made your thinking is.
Right, right.
So that's the main thing.
I was also interested in or found it interesting to know that some of these students, when they got master's thesis, the professor didn't even the company didn't even ask for their transcripts.
Okay.
They were only interested. They were mostly interested in whether these students were really motivated.
Yeah.
As in, would this person actually? I mean, how does this person show their motivation?
This is true.
Right. It's very curious that those circumstances.
So I mean, for people who have very high grades, it's a positive thing. You should be proud of yourself, but at the same time, you should work on being able to express your ideas and not only be connected to the book. For the people who unfortunately don't have high grades, don't lose hope because there's another option that can boost up your application.
Right. For your information, I am not a grade A student. All right. I am not a grade A student. I was never a grade A student.
Yeah, me neither.
I was always just above average. I was always just above average. So I was just good enough for what I needed to do. Just good enough. That's it. good enough for the teacher to say, okay, no trouble, right? That's all I was ever.
Yeah.
And I have managed pretty well. Actually, I got admitted, I studied, I have a job, settled. I'm pretty good. So I don't think that only grades matter. There was another question there that we could have taken on the document. What was your top difficulty during your studies, Mohammed?
The top difficulty during studies.
Like, what was the worst thing for you? Oh my God, I want to
Yeah.
kill this thing.
Okay, difficulty for the studying itself or the
No,
general in
when
the
you
life?
were a student, what was
Yeah.
the biggest difficulty you came across? Your 2 years here,
Yeah,
what was the biggest thing that you said, oh my God, this is just too much. I can't take this.
yeah. It's mainly about here the education is strongly connected with industry.
Yeah.
And it's strongly connected with development.
Right?
This means that it's advanced.
Right.
So what's happening in the industry is
Yeah.
connected, and you can
Yeah.
see it
Yeah.
inside the university.
Yeah.
So there are some tools that here in Sweden in the bachelor degree,
Yeah.
they get it and
Yeah.
work with it
Right.
in the bachelor degree.
Right.
And me as someone from Egypt,
Yeah.
I just knew about it in the last year and just did one report with it,
Right.
and I was amazed that Swedish people use it here regularly.
Regularly.
And
Are we talking about MATLAB?
yeah, yes, of course, that was the
I had problems with it too.
yeah, and I was amazed because here they use it like a calculator. Whenever you're talking to a Swedish student or something, he opens his
MATLAB.
notebook and he starts to calculate just for fun, or if he just want to calculate something with MATLAB, and he starts to code. So this was a little bit tricky to study a course based on using MATLAB to study something complicated.
Mm.
So you had, as an Egyptian student, I had to work a little bit more to be able to understand MATLAB very well in parallel with the main goal of using MATLAB, because
Right.
I was using MATLAB for studying electric drives.
Right.
So I was simulating.
Right.
And electric drive itself, it needs the time for studying
Yeah,
a lot.
right, right.
So imagine you're studying MATLAB.
You're basically
and
studying
electric drives.
three courses
Yeah.
suddenly. Instead of two, you're doing three.
Yeah.
Right? I completely remember that. I actually even dropped a course because I was not confident with my MATLAB skills.
Yeah.
I even dropped a course.
It's interesting
yeah.
to know that, because
Yeah.
I always thought that India is strongly connected with that part.
Not with MATLAB. We're good with math,
Yeah.
but not with
And
MATLAB.
IT too.
IT too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to say that I'm a software engineer, right? I
Yeah.
was a software engineer. I was a programmer. I was like, no, I don't think I'm not
Yeah.
confident enough with
And
MATLAB.
actually, most of my friends, uh, Indian friends who I worked with, I was actually very, very amazed at how hardworking and how respecting
Thank
they
you
are.
very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
something
Pat myself on the back there.
Yeah, this is something that I should mention, because
Mm.
Indians are very good in the international perspective. They are able to accept others and they are able to work with others. And this is something good.
How was your classroom? Was it international?
Yeah, actually, I had a lot of nationalities in my class. Swedish, of course.
Yeah.
That was the main. Greek,
Yeah.
Spanish, Africans,
Yeah.
Asians.
Right.
Uh,
You do realize you're also African, right?
Yeah, of course. But I'm talking about, for example, Ethiopia,
Right.
Eritrea.
Right.
We had also people from Europe, from Lithuania.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's and actually it differs from one year to the other.
Right.
So
So there's a lot of
yeah.
nationalities.
And there was an
inside.
American doing an exchange.
Right.
So yeah,
And then and that's the best part. No, you get to work with all of these different people. You get to understand how
This is
they
true.
think. It's I find that very interesting. It's how about we move on? And yeah, how about we move on? No, slide. We've already done this. We've already done this. And I believe then we have basically more or less come to the end of this webinar. Okay, so then I will now go ahead and finish it. If you want to
Okay.
move aside, you can do so.
No, no problem.
Yeah, what is that?
The scholarship that I had,
Yeah,
the Swedish Institute scholarship.
right.
It's a very good scholarship in my opinion, and it was the one that made me able to study in Sweden.
Is there anything specific you want to tell them about that scholarship, that do this and you will get the scholarship or something like that? Or do you want to be the smart guy and say,
Yeah, the good thing about this scholarship is that it's from Sweden. So when you get a scholarship like this, it means that you're supported by the Swedish government to study in Sweden. So it's something that you should be proud of.
Yeah, and you're part of this network of global leaders and
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's really, really cool, isn't it?
After you finish, you're still connected with this network.
Yeah.
You get news about Sweden.
Right.
Sometimes when there are events in Egypt, for
They
example,
invite you.
they invite you in the
Yeah.
embassy to attend.
Yeah.
So it's not only the studying phase that is connected to the scholarship.
No.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
So you
It's a
become
lifetime.
Yeah, I'm now an alumna of it,
Yeah.
and we have events and we have news and we have mails. I'm strongly connected with it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent. I would like to thank you very much, Mohammed, for joining us this evening. Thank you so much for
Thank you
taking
very
time
much,
off of
Abby.
your work to
Yeah.
come here.
Yeah.
We are at the end of our webinar today.
So
Yeah, you can move aside if you wish to.
Yeah.
I can finish this up. These are some important links for you. We have again the key dates, and then we've got scholarships, and then we've got study in Sweden for the SI scholarships, and then there is Next Stop Chalmers Egypt, which is a Facebook group. You can go there and you can ask yourselves, as in each other, all your questions. Go ahead, join the group. All right. Next is just the contact information. Look for us on YouTube. You will find this recording on YouTube. You will also find us on Instagram, so you will be able to see the pictures of all of this snow that we were talking about, and lots of other pictures. All of our student ambassadors take pictures and post them. Twitter, Facebook, you know it, right? That brings us to the end of this presentation. I would like to thank you for joining us today, and I hope this was helpful in some way. We will try to do more of this, maybe, maybe not, but for the moment, this was me saying thank you. See you later. Bye bye.